I remember my first match with Bonza on it. It was my second match ever on a show, first time on the main roster. The first thing he told me before we even had thought about planning the match was make sure you talk to Madison Eagles after the match. And to a young wrestler, being told that you have to talk to Madison Eagles, I was terrified. But I did. And I think the reason that her and I have a very good working relationship is because I had that respect of, could you please give me some advice? Was there anything that you saw? And she gave me some advice that I didn't even deserve. You know what I mean? Like, she didn't have to go to all that trouble. And I heard some stories that she has a notebook at all shows that she goes to, and she takes notes on all the matches. But if you don't ask her for the feedback, you don't get it. That feedback will just stay in that book and you'll never get it. So the amount of wasted things in that notebook that she could write down, because I've been there and received the feedback, people are missing out. And I've, like, some matches, she said to me, oh, I'd only change this one thing, other than that, really good. Or sometimes she'll just say, oh, I was too busy, didn't watch it. But the one time that she might sit down with you and give you like 15 minutes of her time is priceless. It's better than any training session you could go to, because this is one thing that's been bugging me recently. All these people are talking about how hard they work in wrestling, but all you see them do is post videos online of them doing like the basic wrestling roles or getting in and out of the ring. And I'm like, that's not wrestling at all. Because like, I tell people all the time I train, like, we're going to do forward rolls today and they need to be perfect. And I can't tell you why they need to be perfect, because I have never done one forward roll in a wrestling ring, but it needs to be perfect.
Yeah.
And I'm just so flabbergasted, because people are like, I'm working so hard, but then they're working so dumb. We're just getting feedback on a match that you've put like your brain into is better than any wrestling session you could have. Because I go to a session, I plan them, and you're like, well, we'll do our rolls, and then we'll do some lucha drags, and then we'll do some bumps, and we'll do a spot, and that's fine. But as a rookie, you didn't think of that spot, so you have no idea why it's right, why it's wrong, if it's right at all. Because sometimes I put spots together that make no sense, but they're just to get different fundamental bits of, so you can practice them. And I tell people all the time, don't do this spot in a match because it makes no sense. I just wanted you to be able to do like an up and over and a back bump in the same spot. And that's why I've penciled it like this. But when you put your creativity towards a match and somebody's going to directly feedback that's the money right there. That's the priceless.
Yeah, that's the stuff that you can't get. And it's, you mentioned like people, taking videos and posting them on social media of like their training and stuff like that. Do you think, like, honestly, what's your opinion on that? Do you think people should be filming themselves while doing wrestling training? Like, or do you think, hey, it's not really the type of thing you should be filming and putting out there on social media?
I just guess it depends on like what your motivation is, to be honest. Like, I've never seen anybody do a roll and gone, poh, that guy's the next big thing. I understand that people like to hold themselves accountable, or they might just want to put over the wrestling gym, or it might be sort of a part of their gimmick that they train really hard. I don't buy hard work anymore these days. It sounds stupid. I'm definitely a work smarter type of guy, because there's plenty of people out there that are posting all these like 5 times a week, 4 times a week, they're in a wrestling ring. I'm like, that's great. But what's really wrong with you as a performer is your presentation. So how about you drop 4 of those wrestling sessions a week and you go to the gym and you eat a little better and then look like a wrestler. And then all those problems you have with your booking I work so hard, why am I not getting booked, will be solved, because you're not identifying the issue. That was something that I did. I had a big reflection process coming back from COVID, where I was like, why aren't I the top guy at Newey? Why aren't I the top guy at PWA? And I was like, it's my character work. So I went and I worked on it. And I asked people questions like Mick, who's like a character. That's what he does. I said, what do you do in matches to plan? And I studied and I worked hard towards that. And I didn't step foot, because it was COVID. I didn't step 1 foot in a wrestling ring for that period of time, but I worked as hard as I ever have to work on that. It's just this, people have this idea that if I'm in a wrestling ring, I am working hard. Where I'm at a position in my life where I can barely get to training once a week these days. I hold myself to the standard that I'll go once a week. And sometimes I'm lucky enough to go 2. Sometimes I might be lucky enough to go 3. Sometimes I don't go at all. But I'm working as hard as I ever have.
Yeah.
I'm still going to the gym. I'm still eating as well as I can. I'm still studying wrestling. I'm still booking wrestling and watching matches and ticking my brain over. And there's people that think they work 3-4 times as hard as me because, oh, Carter's only training once a week. I train 4.
Yeah.
It's like,
I just don't get it.
There's a reason why I am doing what I'm doing. And I'm like, there's a reason why you're asking me to be booked on a show and not vice versa.
Yeah.
But you're working hard, but you're asking me to get booked. And that's people just need to be a bit more real with what they are and their expectations of themselves and figure out what they actually need to work on. Because if you're 4 or 5 years into a career and you're just doing your wrestling roles and that's what you want to post online about yourself, you have a distorted perception of what wrestling is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. And